The warning lights flickered red across the bridge of the Aegis Dawn. Guan wiped sweat from his forehead as he stared at the dying engine readings. 3 weeks stranded in deep space. 3 weeks of rationing food, recycling air, and hoping someone would hear their distress signal. Engineering to bridge, he spoke into his COM device. The main reactor is down to 8%. We have maybe 2 days left. Captain Lee's voice crackled back, tired and defeated. Understood. Keep doing what you can. Gi-won left the engine room and walked through the narrow corridors of their colony ship. 37 people depended on this vessel. 37 souls who had left Earth hoping for a new life on the frontier colonies. Now they were ghosts floating in the darkness between stars. He found Minseo in the medical bay, shivering despite the thermal blanket wrapped around her small frame. The young medic had taken the worst of the radiation exposure when the reactor first failed. Her dark eyes looked up at him weakly. "How are you feeling?" Gi-won asked, kneeling beside her bed. "Cold," she whispered. "Always cold." Gi-won checked the medical readout. The nanite injection she needed sat in a locked cabinet. Only 3 doses remained for the entire crew. He had already used his allocated dose last week for a minor injury. By protocol, he had no claim to another. He looked at Minseo's pale face. She was barely 22 years old, without thinking too hard about it. Guan walked to the cabinet and entered the override code. He took one of the precious vials and pressed it against Minseo's arm. The injection hissed softly as it entered her bloodstream. "Rest now," he said quietly. "You'll feel better soon." That was when the sensors picked up the massive ship approaching, the Valkyrie warship. Crimson Spear dwarfed the Aegis Dawn like a whale beside a minnow. Its hull was dark metal, covered in strange patterns that seemed to shimmer and move. When the airlock connected, Ji-won joined the other crew members in the cargo bay, waiting to meet their rescuers or their executioners. The Valkyrie who stepped through the airlock were nothing like humans. They stood nearly 8 feet tall, with skin that rippled between deep purple and midnight blue. Their eyes glowed a soft gold, and their movements were precise and powerful. They wore armor that looked both ceremonial and deadly. At the front walked Princess Na'vi, even without understanding their hierarchy. Gi-won could tell she was important. She carried herself with absolute authority, and the other Valkyrie moved around her with careful respect. A small device floated near her shoulder, projecting words in English. "I am Princess Na'vi of the Valkyrie Empire. Your ship sent distress signals that violated our territorial space. Normally, this is an act of war. However, we recognize you are in genuine crisis. You will be brought aboard our vessel for medical treatment and questioning." The humans had no choice but to agree. The medical facility on the Crimson Spear was unlike anything Ji-won had ever seen. Valkyrie doctors worked with casual efficiency, healing injuries that would have required weeks of human medical care in mere hours. Their technology was centuries ahead. Ji-won stood in line with the others, waiting for his examination. He watched as Princess Na'vi moved through the bay, observing everything with those strange golden eyes. She paused at each human, studying them like specimens in a laboratory, when she reached the station where Minseo was being treated. The Valkyrie doctor made a comment in their language. The translator device caught it. This one should have died from radiation poisoning. The cellular damage is extensive. But someone gave her a nanite treatment recently. Very recently, Na'vi turned and looked directly at Ji-won. "You," she said through the translator. "Step forward." Gi-won's heart hammered, but he moved closer. "The medical records show you already used your nanite allocation," Na'vi said. "Yet this young female received a treatment that could only have come from crew supply. Did you give her your emergency reserve?" Every human in the bay went silent. Stealing medical supplies was a serious violation, even in desperate times. Gi-won met her alien gaze. "Yes." "Why?" "Because she needed it more than I did." Na'vi tilted her head, studying him for a long moment. Then she turned and spoke rapidly in her own language to the warriors around her. They seemed surprised by whatever she was saying. The translator caught fragments. Sacrifice. Strength of clan? Unprecedented. For the next 2 days, The humans were kept in comfortable quarters while the Velthari decided what to do with them. Giwan spent most of his time helping Hannah, his friend and fellow engineer, document the Velthari ship systems. They were both fascinated and terrified by the technology surrounding them. "Do you think they'll let us go?" Hannah asked quietly as they sat in the observation lounge, watching stars streak past. "I don't know," Juwan admitted. "We're at their mercy." On the third day, Kiwan was summoned to the Grand Council chamber. He entered to find it filled with Velthari nobles, all watching him with glowing eyes. Princess Navi sat on a raised platform, flanked by two other females who looked like her but carried themselves differently. One was cold and calculating in her expression. The other seemed aggressive, almost predatory. Human Juwan Navi's voice echoed through the chamber via dozens of translators. "I have made a decision regarding your fate." Juwan's hands clenched at his sides. This was it. "By the ancient rights of the imperial bloodline," Navi continued, "I claim you as my chosen mate. You will be bound to me, elevated to noble status within the Velthari Empire. I'm expected to provide heirs to strengthen our bloodline. This is a great honor. Do you understand?" The words hit Guan like a physical blow. Around him, the Velthari nobles erupted into hissing conversations. The other two princesses looked shocked and angry. His crew, watching from a viewing platform above, stared in horror. Giwan tried to process what he had just heard. Mate heirs? This alien princess, who he had met 3 days ago, was claiming him like property? "You have the right to refuse," Navi added, her golden eyes fixed on him. "However, your crew's safe passage and your ship's repair depend on your cooperation with our customs. I await your answer." The chamber fell silent. Every being in the room waited for Giwan to speak. His mind raced through possibilities, through fears, through the weight of 36 other lives depending on his choice. But one thought kept pushing forward. Louder than all the others, he had not come this far, had not survived this much. To become anyone's trophy? Juwan took a deep breath and looked up at Princess Navi. When he spoke, his voice was steady and clear. "Before I answer," he said, "I have a question." The silence that followed was absolute. Giwan could hear his own heartbeat in his ears. Every Velthari in the chamber stared at him with those glowing golden eyes. Above, his crew held their breath. Princess Navi leaned forward slightly on her raised platform. "You wish to ask a question before accepting this honor?" "Yes," Guan said. His mouth was dry, but he forced the words out. "What does it mean to be your mate?" The translator devices around the room buzzed with the translation. Several Velthari nobles made hissing sounds that might have been laughter or disgust. The cold princess on Navi's left stood up sharply. "The human dares to question the third princess," she said, her voice cutting through the chamber. "This is an insult to the imperial bloodline. Execute him immediately." "Sit down, Telva," Navi said without taking her eyes off Giwan. "I gave him the right to speak." Telva sat, but her golden eyes promised violence. Navi's translator spoke again. "What does it mean to be my mate? It means you will live in the imperial palace. You will be given status, wealth, and protection. You will father my children to strengthen the Velthari bloodline. You will be mine. Is this not clear?" Giwan felt something settle in his chest, a decision forming. "In my culture," he said slowly, "a mate is not claimed. A mate is chosen by both people. It is a partnership built on respect, trust, and understanding." The nobles erupted into angry hissing. Several warriors moved their hands toward their weapons. But Giwan kept talking, his voice rising. "You've offered me status and safety for my crew. But you have not asked what I want. You have not asked who I am." He paused, meeting Navi's alien gaze directly. "So before I answer, I ask you, Princess, do you want a trophy or do you want a partner?" The chamber exploded. Nobles shouted in their language. The aggressive Princess Rhys's laughed loudly. "The little human has more spine than I thought. Foolish, but brave." Telva was screaming for Jiwan's death. Warriors moved forward. Above, Jiwan could hear Hannah shouting his name. Princess Navi raised one hand. The room fell silent instantly. She stood from her seat, her tall frame seeming to fill the entire chamber. She walked down the steps until she stood directly in front of Juan. Even at his full height, the top of his head barely reached her shoulder. "You challenge me," she said quietly, the translator barely audible. "You question my authority. You speak of partnership as if you and I are equals." Guan's legs wanted to run, but he stood his ground. "I speak of partnership because that is the only kind of relationship worth having." Navi stared at him for a long moment. Then she did something that shocked everyone in the room. She smiled. It was not a human smile. Her teeth were slightly too sharp, her expression slightly too alien, but there was something genuine in it. "Interesting," she said. "I will speak with you privately. The rest of you, leave us." The nobles protested, but Navi silenced them with a look. Slowly, the chamber emptied. Telva left last, throwing a murderous glance at Giwan. The human crew was escorted out, Hannah calling out that she would wait for him when they were alone except for 2 guards at the door. Navi walked to a large window showing the stars outside. "Come here, human." He joined her at the window, aware of how small he was next to her. "Do you know why I chose you?" Navi asked. "No. In Velthari culture, strength is everything. Strength in battle, strength in leadership, strength in bloodline. But there are different kinds of strength." She glanced down at him. "When I saw you give your medicine to save that young female, I saw a strength we Velthari rarely show. The strength to sacrifice for others, to put clan above self. This is the mark of a true leader." "I am not a leader," Juan said. "I am just an engineer. You are more than you think." Navi turned to face him fully. "I am 3rd daughter of the Emperor. In our society, imperial daughters must prove their worth or be cast aside. I have won battles, commanded ships, conquered worlds, but I have never produced an heir. My 30th cycle approaches. If I do not choose a mate and produce offspring, I will lose my position, possibly my life. So I am a political necessity," Giwan said. "You are," Navi admitted. "When I first saw you, I thought you would be easy to control. A weak human who would give me what I needed. But then you spoke to me as no one has ever dared. You challenged me, and I realized something." She paused. "I am tired of being surrounded by those who fear me or use me. Perhaps what I need is not someone who will submit, but someone who will stand beside me." Giwan felt his understanding of the situation shift. "You are not what I expected either. What did you expect? A monster. A conqueror who would take what she wanted without care." He looked up at her. "But you are trying to survive in a system that does not value you as a person, only as a tool." Navi's expression softened slightly. "We are not so different then. You tried to survive with a broken ship. I try to survive in a broken empire." They stood in silence for a moment, watching stars stream past the window. "I cannot let you go," Navi finally said. "The court has seen my claim. If I withdraw it, I will appear weak. Telva will use this to destroy me. Your crew will be stranded or worse, and if I accept, then we play a dangerous game. I will bring you to our homeworld for the formal ceremonies. You will be tested, judged, and possibly killed if you fail to prove your worth. But you will have time. And in that time, perhaps we can learn if this partnership you speak of is possible." Giwan thought of his crew. He thought of Minseo, still recovering from radiation poisoning. He thought of all the lives depending on him, but he also thought of the woman standing before him. Not a monster, but a person trapped by circumstances beyond her control, just like him. "If we do this," he said carefully, "we do it as equals. I will learn your ways, but you will learn mine. I will stand beside you, but you will stand beside me. No claiming. No ownership. Partnership." Navi considered this. "My people will not understand. Then we teach them." She made a sound that might have been a laugh. "You truly believe we can change an empire that is millions of years old?" "My people once believed we would never leave our own planet," Juwan said. "Belief changes reality if you are brave enough." Navi extended her hand, palm up. It was 3 times the size of his. Then we have an agreement. A partnership. Quan placed his hand in hers. A partnership. As they stood there, human and alien, something shifted between them. It was not love. It was not even friendship yet, but it was the beginning of understanding. The journey to our homeworld will take 15 days, Navi said. During this time, I will teach you our language and customs. You will teach me about humans. When we arrive, you will face trials that will test everything you are. Many will want you to fail. Some will want you dead. Sounds like fun, Juan said dryly. This time Navi definitely laughed. I begin to understand human sarcasm. It is not so different from Velthari battle humor. She walked toward the chamber doors, then paused. One more thing, Juan. If you betray me, if you make me look foolish before the Empire, I will not kill you. But I will make sure your crew suffers. Do you understand? Yes, Juan said. And if you betray me, if you treat me as property instead of a partner, I will make sure the entire Empire knows you are a hypocrite. Do you understand? Navi's eyes flashed with something that might have been respect or might have been anger. You are either the bravest human alive or the most foolish. It's probably both. As the doors opened and guards entered to escort Giwan back to his quarters, he looked back at Princess Navi one last time. She stood in the center of her grand chamber, tall and powerful and alone. And for the first time since this nightmare began, Jiwan thought, maybe, just maybe, they both had a chance at something better than survival. They had a chance at something real. The next morning, Guan woke to find a Velthari warrior standing at the entrance to his quarters. The alien was even taller than Navi, with scars crossing his dark blue skin. I am Instructor Cade, the warrior said through his translator. Princess Navi has ordered me to begin your education. We start now. Barely had time to dress before Cade led him. Through the massive corridors of the Crimson Spear, they, past training rooms where Velthari warriors, practiced combat moves that looked impossibly fast. They walked through gardens where strange plants grew under artificial light. Finally, they reached a small study room, Cade commanded. For the next 6 hours, Jiwan learned the basics of Velthari language. The sounds were difficult for his human throat to produce, but Cade was patient in his own strict way. When Jiwan finally managed to say, I greet you with respect in proper Velthari, Cade nodded once. Better. Tomorrow, we continue. As days passed, a routine developed. Mornings with Cade learning language and customs. Afternoons in a private study where Navi would join him to talk. Evenings with his crew, who were being treated well, but were clearly anxious about the future. During one afternoon session, Navi brought him a data tablet showing images of her homeworld. This is Velthara Prime, she said, where we will face judgment. Guan studied the pictures. Cities that looked like they were carved from crystal. Massive structures that touched the clouds. Orbital platforms that could probably destroy entire planets. It is beautiful, he admitted, and terrifying. Both, Navi agreed. She sat across from him, her large frame making the furniture look small. Tell me about your world. About Earth, so Jiwan told her. He described cities struggling with pollution and overcrowding. He talked about the colony programs that promised hope to people who had nothing left. He explained how his family had been workers in a factory until the company abandoned them. You had nothing, Navi said. Yet you became an engineer. I learned because I had to. The colony ships needed maintenance. Someone taught me, and I taught others. He smiled slightly. Humans are good at adapting. This is why you survived when your ship failed. We survive because we help each other. We are weak alone, but together we are strong. Navi was quiet for a moment. Velthari culture does not think this way. We believe strength comes from individual power. The strong lead, the weak follow or die. That sounds lonely. It is. She looked at him with those golden eyes. I have commanded thousands of warriors. I have conquered 17 worlds. But I have never had what you humans call a friend. The admission surprised Yuan. Never. In my culture, friendship is weakness. Those around me, either fear my power or want to use it. My sisters, Telva and Rhesus, would kill me if they could. My own warriors would betray me for a better position. This is the way of the Empire. Then your empire is broken, Giwan said quietly. Navi did not argue. In the evenings, Giwan met with his crew. Hannah was his most frequent visitor, and she was not happy about the situation. You are playing with fire, she warned him as they sat in the crew lounge. These aliens are not our friends. They could kill us all at any moment. I know, Giwan said, but what choice do we have? Our ship is still damaged. We are surrounded by their military. And maybe, just maybe, this could work out for everyone.
You're starting to like her, Hannah accused.
The princess. Guan did not deny it. She is not what I expected. She is trapped in a system that treats her like a weapon instead of a person. I think she wants something different, but she does not know how to get it, and you think you can teach her. I think we can learn from each other. Hannah shook her head. I hope you are right, because if you are wrong, we all die. Minseo, who had recovered fully thanks to the Velthari medical technology, had a different perspective. She spent her days in the medical bay, learning from the Velthari doctors. Their medicine is incredible, she told Jiwan excitedly during one visit. They can repair damage we thought was impossible. They can extend lifespans, cure diseases, even regrow organs. And they are teaching me, a human. They are being kind to you? Dr. Vine is strict, but he answers my questions. He says I learn, Fa. Saint for a primitive species, she laughed. It is an insult and a compliment at the same time. Giwan was glad that at least some good was coming from this situation. On the 10th day of their journey, Princess Navi took Jiwan to the ship's observation deck. It was late in the ship's cycle, and they were alone except for distant guards. We arrive at Velthara Prime in 5 days, Navi said, standing at the massive window. When we do, you will be presented to my father, Emperor Valthran. He is not a kind person. He will test you to see if you are worthy, and if I fail, then I lose my position. You lose your life. Your crew will be sent away, back to human space, with your repaired ship, but nothing more. Guan joined her at the window. What do these tests involve? There are traditionally 3 trials. A test of mind, a test of endurance, and a test of courage. Each is designed to break you. Great. Navi glanced down at him. You are not afraid? I am terrified, Giwan admitted. But fear does not change what I have to do. This is why I chose you, Navi said softly. You have courage without arrogance, strength without cruelty. These are qualities I wish more Velthari possessed. They stood in comfortable silence for a while, watching stars stream past. Can I ask you something personal? Jiwan said yes. Why do you need an heir so badly? Is it really just about power? Navi's expression hardened. In Velthari culture, female of the imperial bloodline, who does not produce offspring, is considered defective. Useless. My older sister Telva has 3 children. My younger sister Rhesus has 2. I have none. Every day that passes, my position weakens. Soon, the Emperor will have no choice but to remove me from succession entirely. That is cruel. That is our way. She paused. But perhaps our way is wrong. Perhaps strength should not only be measured in bloodlines and conquest. Perhaps there are other kinds of power, like partnership, Giwan said. Like building something together instead of taking from others. You speak of your human ideals again. They're not just ideals. They are how we survived as a species. We were never the strongest or fastest. We survived because we worked together. Because we cared for each other. Navi turned to face him fully. If we succeed in this, if we truly become partners, as you describe, we will change the Empire forever. There will be those who hate us for it, I know. You still choose this path? Giwan thought about his crew, about the future they could have. He thought about Navi standing alone against an empire that saw her as a tool. He thought about the possibility of something new, something better. Yes, he said. I choose this path. With you, Navi extended her hand again, palm up. Jiwan placed his hand in hers. The gesture was becoming familiar now. A promise between them. And we face the Empire together, Navi said. Partner, Jiwan agreed. As they stood there, human and alien, Jiwan felt the weight of what they were attempting. They were not just trying to save themselves. They were trying to prove that to different species, to different cultures, could find common ground. It was probably impossible, but Guan had never let impossible stop him before. On the 15th day of their journey, the Crimson Spear entered orbit around Velthera Prime. Giwan stood at the observation window with Navi, Hannah, and several other crew members, staring at the alien world below. It was massive. Nearly twice the size of Earth, the continents were covered in crystalline cities that glowed with internal light. Orbital platforms ringed the planet like a crown of weapons. Ships moved in careful patterns, a dance of military precision. Welcome to the heart of the Veltheri Empire, Navi said, where your trials begin. Guan swallowed hard. Somewhere down there, an emperor waited to judge him. Warriors waited to test him. An entire civilization waited to see if a human was worthy of standing beside a princess. Hannah put a hand on his shoulder. We believe in you. Jiwan looked at his friend, then at Navi, then back at the planet below. Then let us show them what a human can do. The Imperial Palace was beyond anything Jiwan had imagined. Built into the side of a mountain range, it stretched for miles in every direction. Towers of dark crystal reached toward the sky, and bridges connected buildings that floated impossibly in the air. Energy shields shimmered everywhere. Guards stood at every entrance with weapons that could probably level a city. G1 and his crew were given quarters in the visitor wing. The rooms were enormous, with ceilings 30 feet high, designed for Veltheri proportions. The furniture had to be specially adjusted so humans could use it without climbing. This is insane, Hannah said as she looked around her assigned room. We are in an alien palace on the other side of the galaxy. A month ago, we were fixing engine parts. Things change fast, Juan agreed. He stood at the window, looking out over the capital city below. Millions of Veltheri lived and worked there, unaware that a human was about to challenge their entire system. That afternoon, Kuan was summoned to meet Emperor Valthron. Instructor Cade came to escort him, wearing full ceremonial armor. Listen carefully, human. When you enter the throne room, you will bow. You will not speak unless spoken to. You will address the Emperor as your Imperial Majesty at all times. Do you understand? Yes, Jiwan said. If you insult the Emperor, you will die. If you show weakness, you will die. If you fail to show proper respect, you will die. The Emperor does not tolerate fools. Got it. Do not die. Cade made a sound that might have been a laugh. You have courage, at least. Try to have wisdom as well. The throne room was the largest space Jiwan had ever seen. It could have fit 100 football fields inside. The ceiling disappeared into darkness above. Thousands of Veltheri nobles lined the walls. All watching in silence, at the far end, on a raised platform of black crystal, sat Emperor Valthron. He was enormous even for a Veltheri, nearly 9 feet tall. His skin was darker than the others, almost black with veins of gold running through it. His eyes glowed brighter. His presence filled the entire room like a physical weight. Beside him stood Princess Telva, smiling coldly. On the other side was Princess Rhys's, looking amused. Princess Navi stood to the right of the throne, her expression carefully neutral. Guan walked the long distance to the throne, feeling every eye on him. When he reached the base of the platform, he bowed, as Cade had instructed. Rise, human, the Emperor's voice boomed. Even through the translator, it carried absolute authority. G1 straightened. So this is the creature my daughter has chosen, Valthron said, studying him like an interesting insect. Small, weak, barely worth notice. Yet Navi claims you possess qualities worthy of the Imperial bloodline. Explain yourself. Xuan took a breath. Your Imperial Majesty, I do not claim to be strong in the ways of Veltheri. But I believe strength comes in many forms. Intelligence, compassion, determination. These are the strengths I offer. Compassion, Telva said with disgust. The weakness that destroys empires. It's determination, Rhys added. Every fool has determination until they face true challenge. The Emperor raised a hand, silencing his daughters. Princess Navi has requested that you be allowed to attempt the trials of worthiness. Normally, these trials are reserved for Velthari nobles seeking to marry into the imperial family. No alien has ever attempted them. I understand, Your Imperial Majesty. You will face 3 tests. Fail any one of them, and you will be deemed unworthy. Navi will lose her position in the succession. Your crew will be sent away. You will be executed painlessly, as you are an honored guest who simply failed to meet our standards. Do you accept these terms? Guan glanced at Navi. Her golden eyes met his, and he saw something there. Hope, maybe, or fear. He looked back at the Emperor. I accept. Then the trials begin tomorrow at dawn. Prepare yourself, human. You will need every advantage you can find. The first trial took place in a massive simulation chamber. Guan was placed in front of a holographic display showing a complex military scenario. 2 fleets were positioned in space, preparing for battle. You command the blue fleet, the examiner explained. The enemy in red has superior numbers and weapons. You must achieve victory or tactical advantage within 1 standard hour. Begin. Guan studied the scenario. The Velthari way would be to attack directly, using strength and aggression. But his fleet was outmatched. A direct fight would be suicide. He thought about human history, how Earth's nations had fought wars with limited resources, guerrilla tactics, deception, using the enemy's strength against them. G1 started giving commands. Instead of engaging directly, he split his fleet into smaller groups. He used the asteroids in the field as cover. He sent false signals to make his ships appear in multiple locations. He created confusion and chaos. The enemy fleet, programmed with standard Velthari tactics, became frustrated. They broke formation trying to chase targets that were not real. When they were finally separated and vulnerable, Guan struck with coordinated attacks. 1 hour later, the simulation ended with the enemy fleet in retreat. The examiners looked shocked. This is not how the scenario is meant to be. Solved, but it worked, Guan said. An elderly Velthari stepped forward. Unconventional. Cowardly by our standards, but undeniably effective. You passed the first trial. Princess Telva's face darkened with anger. The second trial was worse. Guan was dropped into a wilderness preserve on Velthra Prime with nothing but basic clothing. The environment was hostile with toxic plants, dangerous animals, and extreme temperature shifts. He had to survive for 3 days. The first night, Guan nearly died from exposure. The temperature dropped to freezing and he had no shelter. Using knowledge from survival training, he dug a hole in the ground and covered himself with leaves and dirt for insulation. The second day, he found a water source, but had to filter it through layers of sand and cloth. He caught small creatures for food, cooking them over a fire he made by striking rocks together. On the third day, he constructed a basic shelter using branches and mud. It was not pretty, but it protected him from a violent storm that rolled through. When the retrieval team came to collect him, found Guan dirty, exhausted, but alive. More than alive, he had actually built a functional camp. Instructor Cade examined the shelter with approval. Humans are resourceful creatures. You passed the second trial. The third trial was the one Guan feared most: combat. He was brought to an arena where thousands of Velthari watched from seats rising into the sky. In the center of the sandy floor, a massive creature waited. It looked like a cross between a bear and a lizard, with armored plates and razor-sharp claws. This is a Krath beast, the announcer declared. Sacred creature of our home world? You must face it in combat until one of you can no longer fight. You may choose one traditional weapon. Guan looked at the weapons rack. Swords, spears, axes, all designed for Velthari hands. Too heavy for him. He chose the lightest option, a short blade. The beast was released. It charged immediately, moving faster than something that size should be able to move. Guan dove to the side, barely avoiding claws that would have torn him apart. He was outmatched. The creature was stronger, faster, better armed. In a direct fight, he would die in seconds. So he did not fight directly. Gaiwan ran, using the obstacles in the arena for cover. The beast pursued, smashing through barriers. Gaiwan led it in circles, wearing it down, studying its patterns. He noticed the beast always swung with its right claw first. It favored its left leg when turning. These were weaknesses. The crowd booed. The human runs like prey. Someone shouted, but Gaiwan did not care about honor or glory. He cared about surviving. On the beast's next charge, Gaiwan waited until the last second, then dropped and rolled beneath its legs. Slashing at the weak left leg as he passed, the creature roared in pain. Again and again, Gaiwan used this tactic. Run, dodge, strike at weak points. The beast grew more frustrated, more reckless. It made mistakes. Finally, after 20 minutes of this brutal dance, the beast collapsed from blood loss and exhaustion. It was not dead, but it could not continue fighting. Gaiwan stood in the center of the arena, covered in blood and sand, breathing hard. The crowd was silent. Then Emperor Valthron stood from his seat. Unconventional, unheroic. Without honor, he paused. But alive and victorious. The human has passed all 3 trials. The crowd erupted in mixed reactions. Some cheered. Many hissed in disapproval. Princess Navi's face showed open relief. But Princess Telva was already moving. The celebration feast should have been a happy occasion. Gaiwan had passed all 3 trials. The Emperor had declared him worthy. According to Velthari custom, he and Navi could now proceed with the formal bonding ceremony, but Gaiwan could feel the tension in the Great Hall. Nobles whispered behind their hands. Warriors watched him with suspicious eyes. Princess Telva sat at the high table, her expression cold and calculating. Navi leaned close to him during the meal. Something is wrong. Telva accepts defeat to easily. Maybe she has given up, Gaiwan suggested. Telva never gives up. She is planning something. Navi was right to be concerned. That night, as Gaiwan slept in his quarters, alarms suddenly blared throughout the palace. He woke to find Instructor Cade bursting through his door. Get up. We are under attack. What? Who is attacking? Unknown forces have infiltrated the palace. They are targeting the Emperor's wing. Cade tossed him a weapon. Stay close to me. They ran through corridors filled with chaos. Guards rushed past, weapons ready. Explosions echoed from somewhere deep in the palace. Gaiwan's crew members were being evacuated by Velthari soldiers. He spotted Hannah in the crowd. What is happening? Terrorists, they are saying, Hannah shouted back. A group trying to assassinate the Emperor. But Gaiwan's mind was racing. This was too convenient. Too perfectly timed. The day after he completed the trials, suddenly there was an attack. Where is Princess Navi? He demanded. Cade's expression darkened. She went to the arena. She received a message that you were in danger there. Ice flooded Gaiwan's veins. It is a trap. What? Telva is behind this. She is trying to kill Navi. He started running toward the arena. Cade grabbed his arm. You cannot go there alone. If there truly are assassins, then Navi needs help now. Gaiwan pulled free and kept running. The arena was dark when Gaiwan arrived, lit only by emergency lights. The massive space felt empty and dangerous. He could hear sounds echoing from the center floor. He rushed down the stairs to find Princess Navi surrounded by 6 armed Velthari warriors. Her armor was damaged, and she bled from several wounds. But she was still fighting, her movements precise and deadly.
Navi!
Gaiwan shouted. She glanced his way, and that moment of distraction nearly cost her. A warrior's blade slashed across her side. She stumbled. Gaiwan did not think. He ran forward, raising the weapon Cade had given him, and threw himself at the nearest attacker. He was not a trained warrior. He had no chance in a real fight against these professionals. But he was desperate and angry, and sometimes that was enough. His blade caught the warrior in an unarmored joint. The Velthari screamed and fell back. Gaiwan, get out of here, Navi commanded, recovering her stance. Not without you. Together, they fought. Navi used her superior strength and skill. Juan used his smaller size to dodge and strike at unexpected angles. It was messy and desperate. But they were managing to hold the attackers back. Then reinforcements arrived, but not for the attackers. Instructor Cade burst into the arena with a squad of loyal guards. "Protect the princess!" he roared. The battle turned quickly. The assassins were skilled, but outnumbered. Within minutes, all 6 were either dead or captured. One of the survivors was dragged before Navi. "Who sent you?" she demanded. The warrior said nothing. Navi's blade pressed against his throat. "Speak or die slowly." "Princess Telva," the warrior finally gasped. "She promised us wealth and position if we eliminated you. She said the Emperor would reward us for removing the weak link in the succession." Navi's face went pale with rage. Within the hour, the full conspiracy was revealed. Hannah had been working with sympathetic Velthari engineers, collecting evidence of Telva's plot. Messages, payment records, even recordings of Telva planning the assassination. Princess Telva was arrested in her chambers, screaming about injustice and betrayal. She was dragged before the Emperor in chains. Valtheron's anger was terrible to behold. "My own daughter. You would murder your sister for power? She is weak." Telva shrieked. "She chose an alien over a proper Velthari mate. She disgraces our bloodline." "She showed wisdom," the Emperor countered. "She found strength in an unexpected place, while you showed only treachery." He turned to his guards. "Take her away. She is exiled from Velthera Prime forever, stripped of title, rank, and bloodline privileges. She is no longer my daughter." Telva's screams echoed through the throne room as she was removed. In the medical wing, Juan sat beside Navi's bed while doctors treated her wounds. The injuries looked bad, but Velthari healing technology was remarkable. She would recover fully. "You should not have come for me," Navi said quietly. "You could have been killed." "So could you," Guan replied. "Partners do not abandon each other in danger." She looked at him with those golden eyes. "You truly meant it. Everything you said about partnership. Yes, you know what this means now, don't you? With Telva exiled, I am second in line for the throne. My position is secured. You have given me everything I needed politically." Guan felt his stomach tighten. "So you do not need me anymore." "That is not what I meant." Navi sat up despite the doctor's protests. "Guan, listen to me. When we made our agreement, thought I understood what I wanted. Power, position, security. But these past weeks with you have shown me something I never expected." "What?" "That I want more than political advantage. I want what you described. A true partnership. One who stands beside me not because they must, but because they choose to." She reached out and took his hand, her large fingers wrapping around his smaller ones. "So I ask you now, with no threats, no political pressure, no crew to protect, Guan, will you be my mate? Not because it serves a purpose, but because you want to. Will you choose me as I choose you?" Guan looked at her. Princess Navi, warrior and leader, daughter of an empire. She was alien and strange and beautiful in ways he was still learning to understand. He thought about their conversations. The way she had listened to his ideas about partnership. The way she had protected his crew. The way she had been willing to risk everything for the possibility of something better. He smiled. "Yes, I choose you." Navi's expression broke into genuine joy. "Then we will build something new together. A partnership that bridges to species. A future that neither of us could create alone." The formal bonding ceremony took place 1 week later. It was unlike any wedding ceremony from Earth or traditional Velthari ritual. Guan and Navi had worked together to create something new, blending both cultures. The Emperor presided over the ceremony personally. In front of thousands of witnesses, both Velthari and human, he spoke. "Today marks a historic moment. Not just a union between two individuals, but a bridge between two peoples. My daughter has shown that strength comes not from following tradition blindly, but from having the wisdom to create new paths when necessary." Guan stood beside Navi, wearing clothing that combined human style with Velthari design. The height difference between them was almost comical. But neither cared. When it came time for vows, Navi spoke first in Velthari, then in English. I vow to stand beside you as an equal, to listen as you have listened to me, to build rather than conquer, to choose partnership over power. Guan spoke his vows, his voice steady and clear. I vow to honor your strength while showing you mine, to bridge our two worlds with understanding, to face the future together, whatever it brings. I choose you, today and always. The ceremony concluded with both human and Velthari traditions. They exchanged symbolic gifts. They spoke the words that bound them under both sets of laws. When it was done, Navi lifted Giwan Isli and kissed him in the Velthari way, a gesture that drew cheers from the crowd. Later, at the celebration feast, Hannah approached Giwan with tears in her eyes. I was wrong about her, Hannah admitted. About all of this? You found something real. You found it together, Giwan corrected. Navi and now we get to figure out what comes next. What does come next? Guan looked across the hall to where Navi was speaking with the Emperor. They were discussing something serious, probably politics. Navi wants to change how the Empire treats conquered species. She wants to introduce the concept of partnership rather than domination. It will take years, maybe generations. But it is a start, and you will help her. We will help each other. That is what partners do. Minseo came over, practically bouncing with excitement. Dr. Vine has offered me a permanent position in the Imperial Medical Corps. They want to establish cultural exchange programs between humans and Velthari. Can you believe it? More crew members approached with their own news. Some wanted to stay on Velthara Prime as ambassadors or scholars. Others planned to return to human space with the repaired Aegis Dawn, carrying stories of this new alliance as the celebration continued into the night. Giwan and Navi found themselves alone on a balcony overlooking the capital city. The lights stretched to the horizon, millions of lives going about their business. Are you happy? Navi asked softly. G1 thought about everything that had happened. The desperate days on the dying ship. The fear and uncertainty. The trials and dangers. And finally, this moment of peace and possibility. Yes, he said. I am happy. Navi looked down at him. What will we build together, Juan? What future will we create? He took her hand, no longer surprised by the size difference, only comforted by the warmth. Something that matters, he said. Something that proves two different worlds can become one. Something that shows partnership is stronger than conquest. Something impossible, Navi added with a smile. We are good at impossible. Giwan replied. They stood together as the twin moons rose over Velthara Prime. Human and alien partners in every sense of the word. The empire that had conquered 1,000 worlds would learn a new kind of strength, not through force, but through the simple revolutionary act of two people choosing to stand together. It was just the beginning. There would be challenges ahead. Not everyone would accept this new way. There would be resistance, setbacks, and struggles. But Juan and Navi would face them together, because that was what they had chosen. Not obligation, not necessity.